Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to Football Worldwide. Guys, it's been a little while since I've been on. We've all just been a little bit busy. Thanks for Bruno for holding the reins lately. But how are you, my beautiful co-host?
I'm great. Football's come to an end right before a controversial World Cup, and what better time than now to review the Champions League, what we've seen so far. Big ups to the 14 people in the chat at the moment, in the party. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for some cracker football content coming to you soon with match day predictions for the World Cup, watch-alongs, and everything else in between. So do stay tuned for some World Cup exclusives. But let's get into the Champions League. Jono, we had some shocks, some surprises, and a bit of everything in between.
That's just being kind about it, to be honest. There are a couple of results right there, which I know we're going to cover, which were completely unexpected, to be perfectly honest. But, you know, in saying that, like you said, it's been a couple of weeks since the Champions League were on, but we've taken that much time to digest it and see what's on the horizon. Of course, going on from what the round of 16 potential matchups are also going to come after the World Cup next year. So I think we'll just jump straight into it, Bruno.
Before we get into it, I've got a couple of people in the chat. So hello, g'day to Johnny D. Big ups to Johnny D, our biggest fan, I'd like to say, Ian Kerr, all the way from Ireland, Belfast. Good to have you on the channel. Ciao, Cosmo. How are you, mate? And, you know, Ian's just saying g'day to everyone. So it's beautiful to have everyone in the chat today. Ciao, Jono. Ciao, Bruno. Allora, as they say. Let's get into it. Group A.
That's it, buddy. So,
before we start, sorry to cut you off, because I don't want everyone rushing in with comments at the end. But before we start, hit us up in the comments. Who was your biggest surprise? Who was your biggest disappointment? And who do you think is going to win this Champions League? And we'll cover it off once we've done our match review. But yeah, just hit us up in the comments and let us know who you think is going to take it all the way.
So, Group A, and going from the top, it was a 2-0 loss for Napoli to Liverpool in Liverpool, which, you know, it didn't really matter at this stage. Napoli were top of the table as long as they didn't lose by, I think it was more than 3 goals, which were 2-0 result. Napoli in first, Liverpool in second. Ajax got the win over Rangers, and Rangers worst result in Scottish team history for the Champions League. So 0 points with minus 20 goal difference, Bruno.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest surprise in this group was how Napoli just came out fighting, made the big statement win against Liverpool 4-1, match day one, and really sent Liverpool into a critical mess. They were running all over the place trying to work out what went wrong there. And Napoli's dominance throughout the group stage just continued. And it's surprising because they're yet to lose a match when it comes to the Serie A. And they only lost a match in the Champions League that meant nothing to them as long as they lost by 3 or less, which was fantastic to see an Italian club back at the top. It's not one of the Italian. It's not the Italian club I would have picked to top a group, but they did it, and they did it with style. Spalletti has his men doing everything right, which isn't a surprise in the eyes of the Serie A fans who have known Spalletti for some time now. But the biggest question here was Liverpool. What happened? Where are they going? They're dropping points left, right, and center in the domestic league. They pulled out a win against Manchester City and then they went on to lose the following week. So, how are you, Frank? Good to have you in the chat. But it's one of those things, and we will be touching on that, Ian. We will definitely be touching on that. But it's more along the lines of, I personally predicted Napoli Liverpool to go through. I didn't expect Napoli to perform the way they did. Ajax were gallant in defeat, as always. When you lose a manager and then that manager decides to gut your team, it's hard to defend. And they did get 2 wins, and they were both against the Rangers. And the Rangers, I didn't expect nothing from them. I don't think anyone expected anything from them, but I do feel they expected a bit more from themselves. Don't think they expected to finish third, second, or first, but in the same essence, I think they sort of did expect to, potentially come away with a draw or score more than 2 goals. And in what was a 6-match day event, they ended up on minus 20 goal difference. So I think there's a lot of back to the drawing board there at the Rangers.
No, definitely, and I think you've pretty much summed that up pretty well there. Ajax were the other one where before the season you could have maybe predicted how big of the loss of Eric Ten Hag and some of their star players, Anthony, for example, going to Man United, as well as the manager Eric Ten Hag. But they did it totally. 6 points, 2 wins, 4 losses. Not the worst result after being completely decimated in the off season, but it is what it is. They'll bounce back for it in the next couple of years.
Before the group stage, I would have expected a bit more from Ajax, but they're up against a Napoli that no one was stopping them, not even the mighty Liverpool. So it will be interesting to see where they go from here. I do think they are going to be tough contenders in the Europa League, but again, I don't see them coming out of that too unbruised, to say the least.
No,
but let's move on.
Group B, and to sum it up, Porto went top of the group on the last match day, overtaking Club Brugge from Belgium. Third was Bayer Leverkusen, and Atletico Madrid, bottom of the group and bundling out of European football altogether. I covered this one in a little short on the when the result had happened, Bruno, and Atletico. Absolute dismal result. No one would have expected, to be honest, Club Brugge to go through. They are normally the whipping boys in previous years of Champions League football. But credit to them, they've been performing well, even domestically. I'm pretty sure they're actually doing quite well. So they're currently sitting 4th. So they're not right up there where they were, but they've got, they're in the round of the 16, which I'm not sure when was the last time they have actually been in the round of 16. But, credit to them.
Yeah, look, definitely. And they don't call it the Champions League for nothing. And that's what people need to understand. These are the best of the best throughout Europe. You know, some countries have 4 spots, some have 3, some have 2, some have to qualify to get in there, but you don't get in there unless you're good. And essentially, underestimating Club Brugge was a big mistake from all involved in that group, and they just ran away with it at one point where I thought, yeah, they're going to get first, and yeah, they are. They're the Belgian Nerazzurri. They're the Belgian Inter. They just surprised everyone. But I think the biggest surprise would have to be how Simeone still holds a job at Atletico. Now, I don't know if I was talking to you or talking to someone else. I feel Simeone has built a currency with Atletico to the point where he's got the same currency as Arsene Wenger had at Arsenal, where it was almost impossible to fire him after what he achieved with the club. But then the club realized we're going backwards and we're going backwards. We need to be dominant again. And I think Simeone's time is getting close to being up at Atletico Madrid. He's a fantastic manager, but sometimes when the milk's sitting on the bench for too long, it goes stale. And I just think he needs a change of environment. He needs a change of pace. He's not a terrible manager, but at the same time, you know, he took Atletico Madrid to a Champions League final. He won them the La Liga. He's built a dominant force in Spain. But as the saying goes, you die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I think he's turning into villain territory here, and he really needs to step aside, especially in a group where it was highly anticipated that they'd finish first, let alone second, but not last, not out of Europe altogether. It could be a blessing in disguise, as we've seen in the past. It could be a blessing. And yes, Ian, I was about to mention that. He was the highest paid coach in club football. It's going to be one of those things where they're going to have to cut their losses. Simple as that. But it could be a blessing in disguise. Figo always trying to get something off someone here. And they could focus domestically in order to ensure their qualification into next year's Champions League, because I feel that it's their time to qualify and do something. And we've seen Italian teams do it. Traditionally, Milan last season came last in the group, won the title. Inter the season prior came last in the group, won the title. I think it's a bit of a stretch to say Atletico will win the title, but I'm sure they can become dominant and prominent within the top 3.
Well, before we leave on Atletico and go to the rest of the group and go to the next group, it was reported in Spanish media that there are murmurings that Simeone might be sacked before the end of the season, with Pochettino as a hot favorite to overtake. And I actually think that might be a half decent fit.
Yeah. Pochettino never won anything good. He never won anything, to be honest. But at the same time, but at the same time, you're looking at a coach who this is probably a bit more of his caliber. Taking over a team like PSG, he was way out of his league. But I feel at Atletico, he'd be able to instate some stability within the squad. But again, it all comes down to when the decision's going to get made, because the longer they leave it, the longer it's going to hurt them. And essentially, they're going to be struggling for a fair bit. So you really just want to rip the Band-Aid off, per se, and get rid of him and say thank you for everything you've done. But before we move on, just anyone who's in the chat, don't forget to hit that like button and head across to Football Worldwide. Subscribe there to keep up to date with World Cup content. Let's move on to the group that I feel a lot of the fans are here for.
Group C. Bayern Munich heading the group with 18 points. Inter Milan, our favorite here, on 10 points in second. Barcelona, massive surprise for them. They thought that they were banking on making it to the later stages of the Champions League, in the Europa League, in third spot, with Victoria Pilsen finishing up the group on 0 points in fourth.
Yeah, and I really, you got to give credit to Bayern. There was a couple of games there that they were the second best team on the pitch, but they found a way to get through. Barcelona, I think, could have been humiliated a bit more. Inter giving up the lead twice in Barcelona's home fixture. I think they were stunned, they were shocked, and then they're like, "Well, guess what? We're gonna do the job against you when you come and visit us here." And they failed. They failed miserably, and it was all in Inter's hands. And all credit to Inzaghi. I've said it time and time again. When it comes to cups, this coach is the one you want in your driver's seat. I believe he defeated Bayern Munich in the knockout stages at one point when he was with Lazio. They're already down 6-1 the match previous, but he did pull a result against them. And, even if you do get knocked out, getting a win, it's extra prize money. It's extra points onto your coefficient, because for a team like Inter Milan, who's been in Europe for the last 4 or 5 years consistently, to still be sitting in pot 3 just shows how tough it is in regards to European performances. So essentially, you're looking at a team who needs to build their coefficient up, so they're not getting put in the group of death every single season, and they're going into the group with a chance where, all right, by match day 83, we've got this wrapped. We just need to get a draw to qualify. Rather than, we've got to face Bayern Munich, we've got to face Bayern Munich twice, we've got to face Barcelona twice, and then you've got to face Pleasant twice, where it's unpredictable. And essentially, PK retires at the Spotify camp. I don't know if it was because of Inter or it was because Barcelona repped the Shakira jersey after their breakup.
No,
there would be some bad blood there.
I think Ian's got a pretty valid point there, because look, it was only I think he played another 2 games at home, and the second one he didn't even play, and he got a red card being on the bench. So anyway, it is what it is right now, but he's done, he's retired, he's effectively doing what he needs to do for what he has stated for the benefit of the club in retiring, so they've got a bit more funds and so forth. But I think that's pretty much covered it. I know Anthony's covered it a lot in Inter Worldwide, so guys, go watch that one back if you wanted to see him rip Barcelona to shreds, as he absolutely loved it.
All right, so we're going to stop Champions League chat for a minute, and we're just going to go to this comment here. Thunder Road. Is that Bernardo Silva on the right? I don't know who's right he's talking to, yours or mine. How is Ronaldo in the Portugal World Cup camp? My God. If I had sound effects on TV, I would be dropping bombs, because I don't know if it was immaturity. I don't know if it was chucking a hissy fit. You get benched by Antaga, and then you come out and you crucify the club that made you the player who you are today. And he didn't just crucify one person, he crucified the entire team. And I don't know if you've seen, but footage coming out of the Portuguese World Cup camp, he goes up to João Cancelo and he tells him to basically F off. Bruno Fernandes has got piercing looks at him like, I want to kill you. And this man's just got the ego of the century. And Frank here, poor Ronaldo, he should retire before he destroys his legacy. And Ian, he's on the ball like always. He got quite the frosty reception from what I've seen. Yes, he definitely did. It was all against him. I just don't think he picked the right mood to move. And, you see him chucking tantrums on the pitch. How's his legacy going for you? Goat?
Look, I've been very tight-lipped about this and very much holding myself back to not make any shorts and not release any content in regarding this specific issue. But you've thrown me into the deep end, and we've got to speak about the elephant in the room now, I suppose. Thank you, guys. But what an absolute baby, in all seriousness. Now, I'm sorry for all the Ronaldo fanboys out there, and this is nothing against you, But the way that he has conducted himself during this whole ordeal, you cannot tell me that he does not look like the biggest idiot. And I'm only saying this for how he's spoken about Ten Hag and then some of the other sly remarks. Thanks, Franco. And we've all some of the other remarks. To have a go about how Rooney criticised him or had gave him a bit of bad press or something like that. Mate, I'm sorry. Gary Neville as well. Guys, they're 100% right. You're playing shit. The matches that you've been on, you've scored 3 goals all season. You're doing absolutely nothing. The Ronaldo last season was better than the one this season. But why? Because the whole team was playing for him. The whole team was putting balls in and all that. You've got a manager now at United, which is finally in, playing a good style of football. The team is performing and winning without him while he's on the bench, and he's going to take a massive hissy fit just because the team's winning without him. So it's obvious that they can perform and win without him now, and he's like, crap, I better say something now because otherwise I need to get out of this club before, I keep wasting time. He knows his time is so he's doing what he's doing.
I don't want to crucify him 100% of the way because you've got the likes like Louis van Gaal, Pogba, Mourinho making similar comments, but it's the way he conducted himself and it was no limits. That's the type of information you put in your autobiography when you've retired. Not
hold on. You're talking about them speaking about the club. I'm talking about how Ronaldo has spoken about the manager. To say that and to criticize Rooney and Neville because they're pundits now. They need to say what they need to do. They need to say what they need to do for their own job. If he can't take criticism because he's not performing right anymore, well, sorry, man, you're just not up to scratch anymore. If you can't take it, don't chuck a hissy fit because of it. The other thing I wanted to say, Bruno, yes, I totally agree. United are in shambles, and the Glazers and so forth, they're making. I'm not even a United fan, but I feel passionately about having a player speak out against the as bad as what he has for just because you're not performing. That's not anyone's fault but your own.
But to to Ian's comment, he wants to get out in Jan. Is he too toxic to be signed by any clubs after seeing this? Like
reports are sorry. I was listening to today that none of the top tier teams in Europe want to sign him. Not now. United have said that he's available on a free. They won't take a transfer fee for him. He's available on a free. But the thing is, no one wants him on his conditions because of one of his high wage, and two because no one wants to build a team around him. He's 30. He's turning 38 in February, Bruno. Like, the guy doesn't press. He doesn't come back. He doesn't defend. He can't even score anymore. That's the thing. Look at how he played against Villa. He had a couple of opportunities, and he's absolutely toxic. He's terrible. There you go.
Love this comment when asked about returning to the Serie A. They're the most corrupt league in Europe. Does he realize he was at Juve, the most corrupt team? 100%. But in 100%. In order for him to see how corrupt the club was and the league is, he has to be corrupt some way or shape. But should have went to Sporting. What a shame, still a goat. Look, he's a fantastic footballer. But I was saying it to you earlier today, Jono. I don't want my kids looking up to someone like that who, thinks they can spit on their boss and just throw everyone under the bus. There's a time and place to do that sort of thing. And like I said earlier, that should have been done in an autobiography when he retires. It would sell millions of copies, not while you're still a professional footballer, because now rumors circulating are saying that there's a couple of MLS clubs who are looking to get him in the team. So
There's
Anything's
talk that
possible.
he could actually go to Sporting as well. He's managed. Oh, sorry, his agent is looking for him to go back to Portugal because no
Fantastic,
one else in Europe wants him.
fantastic segue, Jono, because the next group is Sporting. So he'd be going to the Europa League, that's for sure, because Tottenham topped the group on 11 points, Frankfurt on 10, Sporting on 7, Marseille on 6. And when we did the Champions League draw live, I think I was with a Q on stream. It was 2 in the morning and you were too tired to wake up. Um, I was with a Q on stream. We're talking about the games, the groups, and I said, this group here will, one, be the most entertaining, but two, I could not pick a single team, not a single one of those teams, to be first, second, third, and fourth. You know,
Yeah,
Frankfurt was in pot one because they won the Europa League. Sporting, Marseille, they're on fire at the moment. Tottenham, you know, and come match day 6 before kickoff, Tottenham sitting in first could have finished in last.
yeah.
You know,
This, and we were talking during this game, and I was watching it while at work. The results of what was happening, and you could see the ladder was changing all game. I think originally Marseille with the draw, they were safe to go through, but then obviously losing at the end, they obviously, they're in they finished the bottom of the group. But that 1 point that would have put them in third place, they would have been okay with that to go to the Europa League.
I think yeah, and it's a great position for Conte to be in, especially after his criticisms of not being able to get out of the group in the Champions League. But this group here was the definition of quality Champions League fixture. Each and every game could not be missed, and they're
Yeah.
all great teams in their own respect. And looking at it, I said I couldn't pick between Tottenham, Sporting, or Marseille to qualify, and you have Frankfurt who pulls the trigger and qualifies on 10 points. So it was one of those. But let's move on to Group E.
Yeah, I think we'll smash these next couple of ones out. Chelsea topped the group, 13 points. Milan in second. No surprise there in all seriousness, in second spot. Salzburg in third with Dinamo Zagreb in fourth. So nothing too big of the surprise here, Bruno, in regards to results and so forth. Chelsea got the 2-1 win over Dynamo on the last day, with Milan also getting a beautiful result 4-0 over Salzburg.
Yeah, no, look, I think that's how everyone saw the group going. You couldn't pick between first and second. And essentially, it all came down to 3 points at the end of the day, with 3 points separating them both. But look, Chelsea, they had some fantastic opportunities, but then they brought Potter in, and his first fixture was a Champions League fixture. So it's one of those things that he was thrown in the deep end, and he's done well to finish first. AC Milan, they copped some injuries, and severe injuries, to say the least. On your comment, Alex, Leao, phenomenal player, absolutely amazing. I cannot see him staying at Milan much longer, especially if this World Cup is as successful as what he hopes to be. I feel he might be leaving in January, to say the least, but I can't see him staying there.
Yeah, there's talk that well, again, because I listen to a lot of the La Liga. Ancelotti is pushing hard to get Leao and Osimhen from Napoli to Real Madrid as soon as January, if not to push hard for the winter mercato. But in saying that, it'll be interesting to see. I think the detail is there because Leao is still hasn't signed a new contract with Milan, and they're desperate to get him to re-sign. I think gone are the days of paying transfer fees and all that type of thing, Bruno, to an extent. And we think we're going to see a lot more players running down their contracts and leaving on a free once their contracts are finished.
The only time you see,
unless you got the money.
the only time I think we'll start to see transfer fees is after big competitions like the World Cup, where you have that breakout player or a player who has an amazing season. You know, Lukaku, for instance, Haaland, you know, Benzema, Mbappe. You have these massive seasons. People are going to pay to get you now. They're not going to wait. So, but like you said, I do feel transfers are away. Type of player we need an Inter baller that can go on one with flair. I don't want him at Inter. I feel our midfield is probably set in stone. I think our biggest issues are our wing backs, and essentially, I just stick the toxicity, put him in the stands. The guy's pace only just to take him out. Every team literally the same sprint up the line. Exactly.
Before we move on to the next one, and we will segue into the next one in a minute, guys, just to be sure, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Football Worldwide. I know we got a lot watching through Inter Worldwide, which is always great, but we do want to see you guys come over to Football Worldwide as well, because we are going to be covering a lot next week in regards to the World Cup and going from there.
Let's move on.
Next group. Group F, with no surprise, Real Madrid winning the group in 13 points. RB Leipzig with 12 points, with Shakhtar Donetsk in third, and for us Australian, Ange Postecoglou's Celtic in fourth, which was Celtic's worst result in regards to performance in a Champions League in the club's history.
Yeah, definitely. Not much to say here. I think, you know, Shakhtar always getting hard done by with these groups, but all credit to Real Madrid and Leipzig, who constantly get the job done. You know, Ancelotti, it's similar to last season. I didn't really rate Real Madrid, sorry. They went through the tournament as a sort of under the radar. I didn't really pick up too much watching them. And then they just pulled win after win. And you just think they can't do this again. And they did. So anything's possible. But come round to 16, you're going to have a very different perspective on it all, because when it comes to World Cups, you cop an injury. They're generally long-lasting injuries. I'm not sure if you remember, in the group stage of the last World Cup, Neymar copping that back injury that put him out for 6 months. You know, so you take a Neymar out of a different club, it's how it is. And exactly back to the transfer fee mentions, you know, Inter, they purchased Mario after a good tournament, and then look, it's just how it is. But then counteract to Inter.
There's been a few. Even Rodriguez went for Colombia, how he went to Real Madrid at that time. You know, you could even say Mario Götze from Borussia Dortmund at the time, signed to Bayern Munich and never really did anything other than score that goal in the final.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, it does happen. It's very easily done.
But look, at the end of the day, I just think this group finished the way it should have, and there's not really much to say there.
No. Lord Figo, yes, Australia did qualify for the World Cup. We are in the group of France, Denmark, and Tunisia. So I don't see us really doing too much in that, to be perfectly honest. But I'm glad we're there, because at least we have some type of country to follow, seeing that our beloved Italy will not be there once again. And Ian Kerr Valverde is a star for them. Yeah, 100%. I'm actually expecting a really good tournament from him. He's going to be able to control that that midfield quite well for Uruguay. So it'll be good to see how they actually perform, because they actually got a half decent team. The front's not too great, I suppose, if you count Nunez doing as good as what he has been. But you know, it's surprising to see Cavani and Suarez still get into the squad. In saying that, Bruno, next group, Man City, no surprise, 14 points, top in the group. Yes, look at that green. Next one was Borussia Dortmund, 9 points. Sevilla in third with 5, and Copenhagen in last. So let's go Let's go, Johnny. What do you reckon? Let's go, Aussies, eh? Yeah. So, what do you reckon, Bruno? Nothing really much to report in regards to this. Everyone kind of thought.
I just got to give credit to Copenhagen for getting 3 points, 3 draws in that group. When you're up against the likes of Sevilla, Dortmund, Manchester City, you expect them to be one of those zero points scored in the competition. Just on a funny note, as you all know, Norway is not in the World Cup, and Manchester City were approached for a 28-day loan deal from a League 4 team for Erling Haaland to ensure... Huh? League 5, sorry. To ensure that he stays match fit instead of playing golf. I think take your chances. What's the worst that can happen in regards to putting in a request for Erling Haaland? But everyone's saying it should happen. I don't think Manchester City are dumb enough to risk him copping some stupid injury on a pitch with a pothole in the middle of it and a God knows what. But yeah, it's just a bit of a comedy to brighten your day. Look, Manchester City have firmed as favourites to win this competition, but it's very rare you see the favourites win this competition. So let's see how that one goes. And they did get a favourable draw in the round of 16, which we will cover. Anything for you to add, Jono, or are we going next?
No, I think we'll just go to the final group, which was a massive surprise. Benfica topping the group on gold. Apparently, this now I gotta get my story right here. Apparently, this went down to the fourth thing to check if they were going to be first, because it was to do with not just home and away goals, but who they had scored against and so forth. So Benfica topped the group, both with a positive 9 goal difference. Second was PSG with 14 points as well, with plus 9 goal difference as well. So this one got covered really to the last minute type thing. Juventus, a bit of a massive surprise, not making it to the round of 16 as they should have, because they lost to Maccabi Haifa, who finished up the group in 4th.
Let's just stop for a moment and have a moment's silence for these Juventus fans who are calling for Allegri's head after being knocked out. And I can almost guarantee he's secured the management position for the rest of the season after being named manager of the month in Italy for the Serie A. 3 games, 3 wins. 6 goals, 4-0 against.
Yeah, I know. But in saying that, in the Serie A, he's performed pretty good. But anyway, we're here to talk Champions League right now. If you want to talk Serie A, just catch Anthony's roundups regarding talking the Serie A. I just couldn't believe the results of this. To see PSG not top the group, they took their gas off the pedal.
Normally, it goes off point, and then it goes off head to head, but not for and against. But both PSG Benfica fixtures ended in a 1-1 draw. So
correct.
That became redundant. Being on the same points became redundant. So then it goes off goal difference, which they're the same, became redundant. And then it came down to who scored the more away goals.
Okay.
And over the entity of the competition, and I do believe 6 away goals in their last game against Maccabi Haifa, who Juventus struggled and lost against, cemented their spot in that first place. But I gotta say, before we wrap it up, let's go through the round of 16 draw. I'll start with the most boring fixture. You've got Manchester City who take on RB Leipzig. Now, I think this is the most competitive Champions League round of 16 draw we have ever seen. But you're always going to get one team get an easy run. And fortunately for me, this time was Manchester City. But let's go through the rest of them. Club Brugge take on Benfica. Don't know who to pick after that group stage. Liverpool, Real Madrid, last year's final repeat.
Mm-hmm. They've got
Milan
history this year now.
and Tottenham. That's going to be fantastic.
Conte back to Milan on the opposite side.
Frankfurt and Napoli.
You'd expect Napoli to go through, but
You'd
Frankfurt
expect-
would be a pushover.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Bayern, Borussia Dortmund and Chelsea.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game.
Inter and Porto.
That's going to be very difficult.
PSG and Bayern. I think it's the final of 3 or 4 years ago.
That has got to be and that's the first game at the same time as Milan and Tottenham on for us, the 15th of February. So
Yeah.
PSG Bayern, what an absolute, that could have been your final, in all seriousness.
No, look, at the end of the day, what this draw has done, it's paired the good teams against the good teams, the lower teams against the lower teams, and the mediocre teams against the mediocre teams. And by having PSG and Bayern, one of them are going to be eliminated. Liverpool and Real Madrid, one of them are going to be eliminated. You sort of got 4 out of the potential 5 favorites heading into the competition, playing each other and knocking each other out. So a competition which was a 5-horse race has already become a 3-horse race. And all it takes is the next draw to put PSG up against Real Madrid to knock another one out. It's one of the most balanced.
Or Bayern Munich against Manchester City. Bruno doesn't want that being a Manchester City fan.
Hey, look, Haaland.
But it's not. It's absolutely crazy. You're right. This round of 16, it's going to be so enjoyable.
Neutral supporter, and that's how I watch these Champions League fixtures come knockouts, because my team's made the knockout. I'm happy. I watch it as a neutral because I can. Every single one of these fixtures are fantastic. It is phenomenal football. It is some fantastic football, and guys, just make sure to stay tuned. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button, because we'll be bringing you a lot more Champions League content. And keep an eye on the shorts on the Football Worldwide channel, because Anthony and Jono, they've been running right. They've taken the password. They're lost control. We can't cage these beasts anymore. And they're just reporting left, right, and City. Inter versus City, who am I siding with, Ian? I can't believe someone from the Kerr Mafia is going to ask me a question like this. It's Inter, of course. Inter.
Yeah.
Inter above all else, except for my children. But even then. Inter above all else. Inter's my heart. They're everything.
Inter as a team, you're saying?
Hmm?
Inter as a team is always our first team.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way the dice rolls for me. I watch the Premier League. I support Manchester City in the Premier League. Why? Because Balotelli was an Inter striker. Mancini was an Inter manager when I started watching the Premier League. I was a Balotelli fanboy back in the day. So when he moved there, I moved there. And that's where my allegiance to Manchester City came about. And then that historic Aguero goal in the 94th minute, 93, 22, or whatever it was. Oh, it's just, it gives you shivers, but it's always got to be Inter. They're in my heart till the day I die. They may be the reason I die at some point, but Inter will be in my heart until the day they give me a heart attack. Sheffield Wednesday.
Nice.
See, I like supporters who stick their allegiance to these clubs, whether they're going good or bad. And Ian, you're one of them, because it's so much easier to say I'm an Arsenal supporter, because they're always there. You know, they have shit seasons, they'll have good seasons, but they'll always. But to say you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, you have my respect, sir.
Ian, what about Debbie? Is she a Sheffield Wednesday fan as well? I'm curious to know, actually.
I feel she's an Ian Kerr fan, to be honest.
Oh,
But
100% we would be. Guys,
mine
before
is,
we do wrap up, just to reiterate what we said before, please come and subscribe on Football Worldwide, because we are going to be pushing a lot of World Cup content over the next couple of weeks. And it will be more than happy to get. We're going to do a few lives and all that. So will be really good to, have you guys watch with us, and then we can go talk through the games and all of that. And then we're going to cover a few of what are we going to do, Bruno? We're going to maybe do a couple of the sum ups for the group stages before we go to the round of 16.
Yeah, so what we'll be doing is on the World Cup. I'm like, we just did the sum up of the group stage. What are you on about? So for the World Cup, we'll be doing a couple of watch alongs, and we'll do each match day we'll do a review. So we'll cover the match day as an entity. We may do a couple of reviews, but just stay tuned. We'll have a lot of content, a lot more faces in on the chat as well. It won't just be myself, Jono, and Anthony. You'll have a lot more people. And do stay tuned, because following the conclusion of the World Cup, if we don't get to a pre-World Cup, because Jono only made me realize we're less than 5 days away, we'll do not mid-season, but season break reviews as well, because a lot's happened. Arsenal like that elephant on top of a tree. Don't know how they got there, but you're just waiting for them to fall. So, Uncle Shama in the chat went to university in Sheffield. I'm a chef. I'm Team Chef United. Debbie is an ex-Liverpool fan. I like how he's put X in there. Only one team in Yorkshire Shams. It's beautiful to have you all in the chat, guys. As always, it's a pleasure. But you know what, Jono? I'm going to put my legs up. You can sign off today.
Guys, thanks for joining us once again. Like I said, be sure to like the video, subscribe to Football Worldwide.
One sec. Your dad's just jumped in the chat. Happy birthday for tomorrow, Jim.
Thanks, Dad. I'll see you tomorrow.
You can always trust Dad to jump in the chat to give you a nice smile.
Well, he's got to love it, because I'm the eldest. I was the one that made him a father. So, guys, it was really good to jump on. I know it's been a while for myself before I've been on. Life's just getting in the way at this time of year with work and so forth, family. It does make it difficult at times to come. I would love to be on a lot more, but it is getting difficult at times. I got to go tuck in my little one once again, because I can hear her running around. So in saying that, Lord Figo, all right, what I'll do, mate, that one, I'll just have a quick chat to my wife, but I'll let you take the finger painting one, no problem. Guys, yes, but before I do get carried away, Football Worldwide, subscribe. We're going to cover we're going to cover a lot of the World Cup next week, guys. And Bruno, once again, I always love chatting to you, even though we chat every second day. It's always nice to see your face as well. But we're going to be getting together to do some videos as well. Thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it. Great stream. Love yous. Ciao.